You know what I think you should do more, Wade? Work for free. This is the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Shane Chapman, Wade Laurent in house today, and
these morning ones are good.
Good?
Yeah, I like them.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel by the end of the day on Saturday, I was always drained. I was always like, man, I just want to go home.
You like start when you're ready for the day as opposed to when you're ready to go home?
Yep.
Sure.
Brains are firing, ready to rock because I have two brains.
8 a.m. on the nose here. We're firing up. We don't open until 9 on Saturday, so this gives us a little bit of time to
pitter patter
do these things. So we didn't come up with a wicked topic. Oh boy, that's not how I wanted to say that. We didn't put a whole bunch of thought into the topic today. Maybe that's what I meant to say. Not that it's not a good topic. It's just not. It's not structured. There we go.
For sure,
that's what I'm trying to say.
Structured. Yeah, but yeah. So this was inspired by a video that I watched yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Might have been the day before. They all run together when you're having so much fun.
You spend your whole day watching videos.
Yeah, that's it.
I showed you a video of a guy getting hit in the face with the volleyball 10 times. Was it that one?
Nope, it wasn't that one. So,
okay.
A couple buddies, Justin and Greg, had a show. They did that. They're like, I don't know what they did that for a year. Maybe they kind of they promoted products. They promoted the city of Moose Jaw. They promoted a credit card. Yeah.
So for context. So for some history, for those who wouldn't know, we had Justin and Greg on the show back, episode, I don't know.
3-5?
I think it was a little later than that, but it was pretty early, maybe episode 10 or something.
Sure, it was early. Good enough.
And so the reason we had them on there was it was an episode about social media marketing, right? And so, social media for your business with Justin and Greg. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th episode. So we did that with Justin and Greg. And the reason this even is on this podcast, who are Justin and Greg? Because outside of Regina, to our audience, unless they remember them from that podcast, probably don't know.
Or the 17 million people that watch their Moose Jaw video.
True. Yeah. So Justin and Greg were a couple of guys from Regina in the ad world. So I used to work with Greg at SaskTel in the marketing department. He was a marketing major guy that came out of the U of R and did some time at SaskTel. Did some time.
Yeah, that's how it feels, right?
Yeah.
Corporate gigs, you do time there.
That's right. So I met him through that. Justin came up through the ranks of Brown Communications and some ad agencies he worked with, and eventually they kind of their worlds collided and they met each other and they thought, well, we got some great chemistry here. We should do something together. And they started this social media marketing company called Pigeon Social. And then from that grew this show that you're referring to, this Facebook Live talk show style thing, kind of there's no reference point for it because it's kind of nobody really did something like they were doing there, but they tried to do something different with no real plan or understanding of how it might go because they were the first ones to do it. So that's the context behind it, Justin and Greg. They had a lot of success with it as far as attention goes and not so much as far as finances go.
Yeah, and so they were pretty candid about that, right? They came out in the video. So they worked for, I believe in the video, they say they worked for 18 months and just couldn't make a go of it. They just simply couldn't make enough money doing it.
Yeah.
So they shut it down. And
so they had made money with Pigeon. When they were working for paid clients, they were making some money.
Correct. Because they were charging people to do advertising, right? It was this is how you should advertise. And then you pay them.
And Justin and Greg's show became their passion project.
Correct.
Essentially.
Yeah. And so they work at that for 18 months. They have to shut it down. And then yesterday they release a video being we're back. Because they had been gone for a year, 8 months. They hadn't produced any content. They hadn't put any videos out, so they came out and they were quite candid. We loved it. That's all we wanted to do, but we couldn't make any money at it. And so we had to stop. We had to actually go get real jobs.
Yeah.
So that got me thinking about how can we tie that into our industry? And the idea was that, more people should work for free. Right? And it was just
our employees for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe good of them to offer that up once in a while.
Right, Justin? Anyways, it was more about I really love the idea of how they chase their passion and they knew that they were not going to make a bunch of money at it. And I feel like you and I have done a fairly similar thing. And I feel like in our industry, this is quite common. You add the curve, or you put that extra touch on the privacy wall, or you whatever, you do something for free because it's your passion.
Yeah.
And I think I like that. So what I said to you is, like, I love that. I love how everybody in our industry seems to do that. Right. And so I was like, well, let's talk to the people that do that about that. That'll be fun.
There's definitely two trains of thought, right? And within the industry about working for free, there's people who say like, yeah, I'm going to do a little bit extra. I'm going to go above and beyond and not charge for it because everybody's got their reasons, because I enjoy doing it. I wanted to try something, and, you know, I wanted to make sure, like, I didn't want any pushback. I just decided I wanted to do this, or I wanted it for my portfolio, or I just wanted to, like,
yep,
you know, or the experience or whatever it might be. And then there's the
challenge,
people,
right? Like you did that inlay. I don't know if you charged for that, kind of, probably.
Yeah, but I think I offered like materials, but I was going to, like, not knowing what it was going to take, offered to do the install for free, essentially.
Yeah.
But where we were going with that, I guess, a little bit is, and then, sorry, the other thought I didn't finish was there's another group of people who say like, don't ever work for free. Your time is worth something. That's crazy. Why would you ever do something for free? Charge everything. That's fair too. That's like,
yeah, I think there's got to be a balance between that, right?
For sure. So, but Justin and Greg's video, was it a comeback video? Was that a comeback video?
Well,
I didn't get that vibe from it.
So I felt like we're gonna keep this company alive, and we're gonna chase stuff that we love.
Sure. Yeah, it wasn't like the Justin and Greg show's back in the way it was before. It was kind of like, listen, we're just figuring things out. Well, we're not gone.
We're not gone. That's what I got from it. It was like, we love the Vegas Knights. We're going to do something with them. We love New York. We're going to try to do something with that. But we don't really care about this credit card. And so I'm not going to do something that I'm getting paid to do and tell them that I love it because I'm getting paid to do it. Right?
Yeah. And because they had the most success they had as far as like the reach they got on the content they created was the stuff that they did because they had an idea that they loved and they went for it, and they just kind of, I don't know if they were passionate about it, but it was their own, and there was no rules for them. It was their own thing that they could give their own creative license to and just create. And those are the things that really blew up on the interwebs.
Yep.
And the paid projects, the ones where they were kind of like siloed a little bit more into what they were allowed to do, or couldn't use all their own creativity, or did, and it was, you know, muted by some marketing person who was like, yeah, it doesn't fit our brand, and like those ones they didn't work so well.
Yeah, they did okay.
Yeah,
but they didn't
none
get
of the
17
viral
million.
ones, right?
Yeah,
they're viral content, and there's
rural Uber.
Yeah, rural Uber. If you guys, we didn't really intend for this to be all about Justin and Greg show, but
no,
hey, it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Their biggest one was probably rural Uber, arguably the Moose Wars. Like those two were pretty big, right?
Yeah.
Rural Uber, my guess would be probably like maybe bigger from like just how it kind of like dominated one platform and became like got a ton of YouTube views. But Moose Wars was at a whole other scale. Like that thing went international media on roids.
Yeah. Like, what are the chances you would know the mayor of a town of 45,000 near you?
Yeah.
No chance.
I don't know that I did before they made those videos.
But now we know him.
So anyways, they created this content and these little projects. The whole like Las Vegas Knights thing that they tied themselves into was like an unpaid thing that they just wanted to do. The thing with Jimmy Fallon, like, they did all these things, and all it did was cost them money, really. Like they spent a lot of money trying to create this content, and it blew up, but the financial reward to it all in the end wasn't sufficient enough to kind of support their life on the back end. So they had to kind of go away from it, and they were looking to do these kind of paid projects, and the paid ones just it wasn't fun enough for them to do. And they weren't, it was kind of forcing them to get away from what they wanted to be. And so they just decided, like, listen, until we get this all figured out, how this is going to work, we're going to put it on hold, go get jobs, and, keep this on the back burner and whatever. So anyways, enough about the Justin and Greg thing. That was just simply what inspired this topic for this podcast.
Yep.
To bring it back to the industry here, we're talking like, okay, so the tie-in being like, is it ever okay to work for free because you get better results out of that, or it gives you something back? Like, or do you think that, are you on the side of the fence that you should be paid for every minute that you work for somebody? And this podcast is an example of what we're talking about, because this is kind of what your idea was, like, well, this kind of relates to our podcast. We do the podcast for free. It costs us a bunch of money to get this thing set up, all this equipment. It costs us a ton of time.
I don't know that I actually know how much it cost us to set all this stuff up.
Well, just like, it's on a need to know basis. You don't need to know. But there's a few $1,000s of equipment in here for sure.
Absolutely.
So, and the time, right? The time spent, not only the time spent doing this each week and then editing it and posting it, but the time it's spent to even learn how to do a podcast.
Yep.
And what was the payoff really going to be? You know, like at some point this may pay off financially if you want to sponsor the show. We're taking emails. But
I don't think that was ever the
wasn't
intent.
the intent.
Like,
right?
when you and I talked about it,
it wasn't like, hey, we need another revenue stream. Oh, podcast. That wasn't it.
Yeah.
Right. It was just like, it was another avenue to, talk about our passion, build the brand essentially.
Yep.
It's a macro play. It's a bigger picture kind of thing. It's like, I don't need to be paid hourly for the time I spent in front of the mic right now. I'm hoping it pays off in other ways down the road, and it has.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think when we first started, you had a very clear idea of how that was going to go. 'Cause I was the one in your ear being like, how are we getting paid for this?
Yeah.
Are we actually going to get any money for this? And you were like, I don't know. I'm not sure that that's how we're doing this. I think we're just doing it because I like it. Now, I said to you at the time, I was like, well, I can get behind this, but like, I want some money out of it. I want to figure out how do we monetize this? And you're like, I don't know, but it might pay off.
Yeah.
Is that good enough? And I was like, well, it was good enough for the store. Sure. Let's do it. It might pay off.
And the reason I came up with us early is that we got some interest early from some vendors being like, hey, this podcast thing you're doing pretty cool. Like,
how do we want it to pay?
Like, what's your sponsorship package look like? And I was like, we don't have a sponsorship package. Like, that was not the plan to have a sponsorship package this early. Like, at some point, sure. And I think like at this point now, if somebody was to approach us and be like, hey, we want to sponsor the show, we would look at it for sure now. Like, we've built an audience, we've built a brand, but the podcast will always stay honest and true. So we're not going to shill ourselves out to somebody and become, a trumpeter of only one brand.
Yep.
And it's never going to change how we review things. I'm still going to give you the kind of the goods and bads on anything, no matter what, if somebody's paying to sponsor the show or not.
Yep.
But it's paid itself off already because, we sell things online through our website, and that's happened more. And I think that's happened more as a result of the exposure we get, not only through the podcast, but through the YouTube stuff we do. Just, we built the brand and now people know about it. And so it's starting to pay back in other ways.
Yeah.
We're going to be down at Deck Expo down there. So that's more exposure for us through the podcast. Our expenses are relieved a little bit for going down there and doing that to get down there. So that helps. So like the cost of our equipment is probably covered at this point. And it's only going to be a trickle effect until at some point somebody buys the podcast for $1 million.
Right. So that'll be good.
But anyways,
I wonder if you'd want to come into work then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If somebody, because then all of a sudden you have to do it.
Yeah.
Then you're like a slave to it. And so this is what Justin and Greg had talked about. They were just like, they felt that when they were being paid to create content, they were biased. And they didn't like that. They were like, I don't want to be biased. I don't want to take a product and then tell the world how amazing it is when I don't actually think it's that amazing.
Yeah.
I'm getting paid to do this. So now I'm telling that. And with me, that resonated like crazy because I think that is really valuable for us. People tune in and listen. We started the show like that.
Yeah.
And I think we have to stay like that. Because as soon as you don't, you lose credibility. It's like, well,
100%. Your credibility is gone. Because we even have Q&A sessions in this thing. And if you want people to actually trust and want to be like engage in that kind of two-way communication, they want to ask. Yeah, exactly. They want to ask a question and get your honest feedback. Yours.
Yep.
Not some company that's paying you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like there's some guys out there, no names mentioned, that are clearly have relationships with companies, and that's fine.
It's totally fine.
But it's just like they get asked questions and they don't answer them. Because they're
and some guys work with products, but they truly love them. They have worked with other products, and I would believe that they're not getting paid, but they love the product, and they're like, you know what, my fail rate is low, so I'm using that.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, I am a big fan. I'm a big fan of, putting in some effort for free, because I consider myself to be a bigger picture kind of thinker most of the time. Like, I don't think, like, I'm never the one that thinks about the money first. It's not the first thing that has to happen in things that I do. Like, it doesn't need to be like, I'm going to start a podcast, I need to get paid on the first episode.
I need at least $6 an hour for the first year, you know. Because that's all you're going to, that's all you're going to get when you start to open up creativity. When you're first starting, when you do your first privacy wall that somebody didn't want to pay for and you put it on, and then you ask them to pay for that, and they're like, whoa, like, I didn't ask for that.
Yeah.
So the first time you start to try and collect on that stuff, you're only going to get pennies on the dollar anyways.
Yeah.
So you might as well do it for free. I don't know.
It's all about investing in your brand, right? So, like, do some things for free that are going to help boost your brand, because that's going to help you win more jobs. Like, there's a payoff eventually, just because you didn't get paid for that moment, or sometimes it's not working for free. It's like spending money, time or money. Like, working for free is spending time. And in the case of, like, let's say Sousa, what does he call himself now? Sousa Design? Sousa Outdoor Living? Is that it?
I thought so.
Sousa Outdoor Living. He spent some money to stage one of his projects that time.
Oh, that was such a good decision.
So he built a deck. He built a deck.
Built some decks.
It's a great looking project. He thinks, like, boy, I could use this on, like, not only in my portfolio, but it could eventually become his trailer app, as it did, and, like, use this for all sorts of promotional things. And, like, I should pay somebody to come here and stage this thing, make it look like it was shot in a damn magazine. Like, that clearly cost him a few bucks.
But that'll pay off.
The customer didn't pay for that.
Nope.
So, but now he has that material to use. Like, if you look at his portfolio now, like, that shot versus just taking a shot from your cell phone at the end of the job when there's muddy footprints all over the deck and whatever else, like, this thing's staged by a professional designer, and like, it looks fantastic.
Invested in himself.
That's right. Invested in his brand. Like, now, and like I said, he did use that as a trailer app recently. He showed his trailer all done up.
Yeah. Sweet.
So
good stuff.
So anyways, this is a bit of an erratic podcast, and we knew that going in. It's like, let's just fire up the mics and just talk about this a little bit. Talk about the whole,
because it's got to be something people are thinking about, right? Mm-hmm. It's absolutely a daily struggle. Do I charge for this? Do I not charge for this?
Yeah.
How do I? So,
and you got to be passionate about it, because nobody wants to work for free on something they hate doing.
Yeah,
like, that's the other part of it. Like, you're not. The reason your employees aren't going to work for free is because they're not passionate about what they're doing. It's a job for them.
Yeah, they can like your business and they can like what they're doing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's not theirs.
Except for Brian. I bet you Brian works for free.
Brian Appreciation Day.
Brian from Brolaws.
That was what a great day that was.
You know what we forgot to do? I meant to do this at the opening of the podcast. Oh. And it just popped in my head. And before I forget, I'm going to do this. We have a correction from our podcast last week. Yeah. That was supposed to be the first thing I talked about. And I got all excited about working for free. I just love it so much. Last week we had there was a question on the Q&A podcast from Dunning and Decking about warranties, and we went through a few different brands, kind of said, like, hey, this brand gives this warranty, this brand gives this warranty, and we had mentioned that Trex was one that gave a 25-year fade and stain and structural warranty on their boards, but did not have a labor warranty. And I forget who it was, but somebody on Instagram messaged me and was like, actually, they do have a 2-year labor warranty on installs if it's installed by a Trex Pro Platinum.
Gold and Platinum.
Yeah, he had said just Platinum, so then we checked with our Trex rep who happened to pop into the store yesterday. We're like, hey, give us some more details on this. Like, somehow we missed this. Somehow we didn't realize that was a thing. And he's like, yeah, it's actually Platinum and Gold members. So apparently Trex has a warranty, an install warranty, labor warranty for 2 years on decks that are installed by Trex Pro Platinums and Trex Pro Gold.
If it's on wood framing
members.
And if it's on elevations framing, it is a 5-year labor.
Correct.
warranty.
Yeah. There's a little bit more information. So this is like Bruce is listening to this right now from Dunning and Decking and going like, see, you guys need to do a whole podcast on this and get into the details.
We do.
It's like, there's always a little fine print things. There's things you don't know about. And that's one of them right now there. It's like, do you have a labor warranty? Yes. But then there's like more details to that. It's like wood framing 2 years, steel framing 5 years. Oh, okay. It's like, anyways, they all look a little bit different. So that's coming.
We should do that.
We're going to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else? Okay. So next week?
Yeah. I'm going to do some research this week and we're going to do it next week.
Okay.
Because what I just did there was gave myself a hard deadline that I have to follow now because it's
Right.
out there.
Okay.
Somebody will call me out on it if we don't. Anyways, but being passionate about what you do means you're willing to go and do a little bit more, and there's more reward than just the money out of it. There's a feeling of pride and accomplishment and so on and so forth. And the bigger picture of how those things can pay off in the long run. So.
Yep. Yeah, and you get some signature styles probably, right? Like you learn it. You absolutely, for sure, when Mark from Infinite started doing radius decks or curved decks, he was just giving that away. You know what I mean? Not giving it away, but it was like he was not recouping his money on that.
Yeah, I'm guessing
there is no chance.
Everybody that gets into something like that, at least the first couple of jobs, is probably eating it a little bit.
Yeah, and now that's his thing. He has a curve on his decks.
Yeah, and now you make a premium for it.
Correct.
Right?
But he had to build that, and he had to find the customers that wanted him.
Yeah.
Not the deck that he builds. They want Mark.
Yeah. So, which is really kind of defines a true entrepreneur. Like a guy who just builds decks is never going to do that. He's never going to make the investment and eat it a few times. He's worried about collecting a check at the end of every deck. Yeah. And like just paying his bills.
Spreadsheet.
But a guy who's trying to build a brand and a business, there's a saying, and I'm going to botch it, but there's a saying about entrepreneurs that an entrepreneur is somebody who's willing to, I'm paraphrasing and I'm putting my own twist on it, but it's like, is willing to eat hot dogs for a few years so that he can eat caviar for the rest of his life kind of thing. Willing to basically live like shit for a little while so you can live like others won't later.
48 months or something.
I can't remember the exact quote. I should look that up. But so that's kind of the idea.
Do you want to give the guy credit? Like, isn't it a Gary Vaynerchuk quote?
No, it's not. I don't think it's a Vaynerchuk quote. It's a meme that's floated around.
Oh, so I thought that when you were listening to Vaynerchuk, you came into the office one day and you were like, eat shit for 48 months so you can live like a king.
Oh, like that's definitely a big premise of Gary Vaynerchuk's. Like he believes that wholeheartedly. He says people are too worried about maintaining their lifestyle. Nobody's willing to take a step back so you can take a few steps forward.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like everybody's comfortable with their lifestyle. Nobody wants to move out of their house and back into their parents' house or sell their car and get a shittier car or take the bus or something or
my parents got a sweet house. I should do that. Right? It's huge. I could live in the basement. They wouldn't even know I was there.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just the idea that it's just the ability to think beyond that kind of like micro what's in front of you thing. It's like this job. Well, I need to make this much money because I have to make a truck payment. But that's small thinking.
Well, but you have to small think because that's how the bank works.
Well, you have to do both, right? You can't just be a dreamer all the time either. Like you've got so to tie into a Gary Vaynerchuk thing too, he always talks about clouds and dirt. And that's his reference. It's like your head can be in the clouds. You got to think big and like dream and stuff. Yeah. But you also have to have your feet in the dirt, grinding it out, doing the day-to-day stuff as well. You can't neglect either of those.
Yep.
Or else if you're just a dreamer, you never take action. And if all you're doing is getting absorbed into the day-to-day, you'll never be able to get your head out of it and grow your business.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to do a bit of both. I think Mark's a good example of that. Like he's clearly, he's got a good business down there. He's got a good brand. He's very well known.
I haven't seen his financials. I have no idea.
Haven't seen his financials. You might be eating hot dogs still.
Yeah.
But yeah, clearly one of those guys that's willing to put himself out there a little bit, take a little bit less here and there, and then it's paying off for him in the long run.
Yeah.
I'm sure Jason from Dr. Dex was the same way. I'm sure the earlier on stuff that he was doing before he was
absolutely,
before he was consistently pulling in 6-figure decks, I'm sure that he probably ate it on a few, right? He probably did.
He ate it on a few.
Well,
that's his life.
He lives in his garage bending deck boards and wrecking them. He's not getting paid for that either, but he's experimenting, right? So those are the guys. Those are the guys that do well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and we like them. Everybody in the industry likes that because you're all going through it. Everybody is going through that, right? Like we're all trying something.
Well, you just don't know about the guys that aren't. Like if somebody's not pushing the boundaries and not eating their fair share of shit for a little bit to grow themselves and to be a brand, you just don't ever hear about them. They're not spending the time to put their stuff on social media.
Yeah.
They're just worrying about where their next job is going to come from.
And so this doesn't even have to be here. So we're talking about this and I'm thinking about local guys, right? Who do we have that's local, that's like investing in themselves, investing in their brand, right? And so it doesn't have to be internet, social media. Like You don't have to grow yourself on an international basis. Do something in your own market that sets you apart from the other guys, right?
Yeah.
So you don't ever recoup the money from how do I say this? You don't charge somebody for your truck wrap, but you should have a truck wrap.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good analogy, because even the guys that say like, you need to get paid for everything, but like you do some things for your brand that you don't get paid for, like wrapping your truck or doing advertising. You're not getting paid for those things. Do they cost you time and money? Yeah, they for sure cost you money. They might cost you time if you're involved in the design process, or if you're doing that stuff yourself.
Give your truck up for 3 days.
If you're walking the streets and you're putting leaflets in people's mailboxes or door knockers or whatever, like you're investing time and money in those things. So why is it that as soon as you get onto a job site where you have a chance to charge for it, does it suddenly become not okay?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that might even be more effective to do it there, because you're doing something for somebody who's actually going to talk.
Yeah.
Like you made a customer happier because you gave them a little bit more. You went above and beyond, and that made them happier. And like, that's going to be more effective than 100 door knockers you put out.
Yep. And I love the door knocker idea.
Oh, first time I heard knock it whatsoever. It's always a combination of things. Right? Not to knock it.
Yeah. See, that's why we do these in the morning, not the afternoon. But so James's idea, where it was like
select decks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Shows up. Sorry about this. Sorry, I'm tearing up your street and making a bunch of noise. That's what an amazing idea that is, right? And he buys those door knockers and he hangs them out. And so if you get one job or two jobs out of those, it actually covered the cost of it. But like, I don't think his thought was, how can I recoup the cost of these? It was just like, yeah, I genuinely feel bad for these people around here. Like, I'm sorry, but I do happen to build decks, and I'm building this one, so maybe you need one. And like, cause you're always on.
Yeah.
When you're in business, you're always selling your business, right?
Yeah.
So
there's certain mindsets that are so obsessed over the data and the ROI and everything. It's like every idea that comes their way has to have a ROI attached to it, or else they just won't consider even doing something.
When we first started, I was really bad for that. I definitely wanted some numbers. I was like, well, we're spending this on radio. How much are we getting back?
Yeah.
And you were like, it's year 2. Nobody knows about us at all.
Yeah.
We're going to be on the radio, so somebody knows we exist. And it was like, yeah, but how many people? Well, more than before.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
we're just trying to trend upwards here.
And so I was really bad for that when we first started. I wanted to know what we were getting back from what we were spending.
Yeah.
Let's track that on Facebook. Let's run a Facebook ad, and then let's track how much money came in. It was like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
And then the more you talked about, like, we have to, whatever, I think it's something like 7 touches before somebody remembers your brand, right? They have to see it. They have to hear about it. They have to whatever.
Yeah.
And you were like, well, it's got to happen 7 times before somebody even knows you exist.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. It can be pretty hard to trace back an ROI, at least in any sort of accuracy, to a lot of things that we're doing.
Yep.
But it overall, it's like the fact that we get phone calls from people in Kansas.
Yep.
Because they watched a YouTube video of ours and they have a little bit more of a question.
Is that lady that messaged you last night?
Working.
North Carolina? She sent you a message about Cortex screws or something?
Oh, on YouTube?
Yeah.
Or something? Yeah.
Trex Cortex. And I'm sure she was from North Carolina. I was like, hey, I just watched your video. I was like,
yeah. So it happens.
Did she buy those this morning?
I don't know if I know what you're talking about. I felt like there was a comment on your Trex YouTube video. I say it's yours. No, there was somebody who commented on it that said, like, I am one of those people that didn't know about Cortex. So do you remember doing that episode, the Trex one? And we were talking about enhanced naturals, and then we went into select, and we were telling the differences and why you do one, and you're like, yeah, but this one you can't use Cortex. And I was like, and I was being a little wise ass, and I was like, well, what do you mean? And you're like, well, Cortex plugs. I was like, yeah, what's that? And you're like, well, everybody knows about it. And I was like, no, I don't think everybody does know about it. And so then we said, well, okay, people comment. So that's what that was in refer. She's like, well, I'm one that didn't. And then, so I don't know if I told you this, but I found out on YouTube, you have the ability to add a poll to a video, like add a spot in the video.
Sweet.
So I put a poll. It's 100% no and 0% yes.
What? How many votes?
It doesn't show me, so I don't know that. But I took a screenshot last night because I decided to go look it up after I saw that comment. And I was like, oh, screenshot. I'm sending that to Wade. 0 people.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm guessing there's
Obviously
not many
they
votes,
don't have
but-
Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like every weekend there's a picture of a guy pounding a plug into a deck. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But speaking of those Cortex, like this is just an ad hoc one. Hey, I like it. I think
All over the place.
the fascia Cortex from Trex.
Yeah. You are taking this down then.
Oh, all over the place. So because our Trex rep was in yesterday and was talking about him, and he was just like, they're amazing. And then I showed that he was at a competitor's place. They were doing a contractor event. And so he stopped in and said that it was a huge hit. Everybody loved them.
Yeah.
But again, they didn't know about him. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, this is such crap. Like, we stock that.
So,
how do
yeah.
they not know about it? It's on the shelf.
Here's a shameless plug. If you're out there looking for Trex Cortex for fascia, we stock it. It's not on our website yet. But if you need some, just email us.
Yeah.
Or send us a DM. Like we've got it all in stock.
Anyways, that is a shameless plug, but it's something like maybe we take for granted how much, like, we live and breathe this stuff every day, right? And
Yeah,
so maybe that's what, not every day. Like, I take lots of holidays, but
That is for sure part of it. We live and breathe it. There's tons of stuff we don't know about. And I feel like I do a fairly good job of like having empathy for people that aren't in it and like stepping back and be like, does somebody know about this?
Yeah.
Probably not. Like, no, they don't.
I often find my default setting goes to contractor base. So it's like they should know something about it. They probably have an idea that something like this exists, but
But they don't either.
I think
Unless they're on Instagram or they're
Yeah.
one of those kind of forward thinking guys. But as far as our local guys go, not many of them are like, they're hardworking. They're out there. They're not spending their time in front of a computer all day long like we do. They don't have or they're not interacting with the reps the way that we do. They don't go to these shows like we do. Like, we're just in it a little bit deeper as far on the product side than a contractor even really could be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like we even with our what do they call that stuff? Bean Boozled challenge at IBS last year.
Yes.
It's like we ask questions that we know the answers to contractors who are very in the industry. They're at the shows, they're at IBS, and like we were able to stump quite a few of them.
Yeah.
Because they're just not nerding on it the same way that we
Because they
are.
have lots to do.
They've got stuff to do.
Yep.
They don't just sit and nerd out all day.
They for sure could stump us, right?
Oh, 100%.
Like,
Yeah.
they should do that. We should have a reverse Bean Boozle.
Yeah.
We should have somebody ask us questions.
Like tool time where Tim had to smell the species of wood.
Yeah.
Remember that episode?
Yeah.
Al would hold it up there and then he'd put his dirty sock on it. And Tim's like, oh, this one's got a fungus. Anyway, we're back to working for free. I don't know that I have much more to say in this, to be honest. I'm a big proponent of giving away some value for free or doing some things for free. If you think in the long run, it's going to help your brand, help your business. And I believe that, that those things do pay off at some point. And I'm not a guy that thinks you have to get paid for every minute of your time.
Yeah. And I think that comes through. I think there's like an authenticity to that, right? The customer will see that. Your competitors are going to see that, because like ultimately you want to be a competitor that is a good competitor too. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be an ass in the industry. You don't want everybody to hate you.
Yeah.
And so like do a few things for free. Like, yeah.
But like, so right now, just between the podcast and YouTube and like just scratching the surface on this stuff, as far as like the level of effort that I want to be putting into it, but it's like, it's a few hours a week that we're doing for free. And no, I can't tie a specific ROI to it. I can't say that per hour of video we put out, we make $111. I can't say that. And per podcast, we make $185. Nope.
No idea.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
And we'll never know that down to that level of detail. But what I do know is that the more people that know about our business, the better chance we have at selling things to them.
Yeah. Anything, something, right?
So,
and it's okay if they're in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Or Burlington, Ontario. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah. So there it is.
What else? That's it. Anybody going to Deck Expo?
There's
I'm
a few.
pumped about that. It's like, what are we, a month away?
We're down to exactly a month away before our flights leave. We leave on November 5th.
Pumped.
I kind of wish it was a little bit sooner, but a month ago it was 2 months away.
I'm excited. So I'm excited for a few different reasons, right? I'm always excited for the product. I know that
I get amped up every year at this time, being like, what's new?
What's new? And I feel like
It's usually a letdown. Like a lot of times there's not a ton of new stuff there.
Leaked.
Well, because we've been to every show, and you can't expect the industry to like flip on its head every year.
Right. Yeah.
That said, we're privy to knowing that there is some pretty cool, exciting stuff coming. So don't let us dampen the show from you. We already know about some things that are going to be pretty cool.
There's always new stuff every year.
Yeah. There's going to be a few that we didn't like, that you don't expect either, where you go there and you're like, oh, this is, wow, tell me more, right? Like magnets to hold your deck boards down.
Yeah, well, I didn't know about that last year.
Oh my God.
Didn't bring any in, but they tried, right?
They tried.
Those guys for sure put in some work for free.
Yeah.
Because they're passionate about it.
I don't know that they ever put in any work for not free.
There was no paid work there.
You know what though? The original, like, do I want to go there? So if you guys don't know, I think this company was based out of Calgary, if I remember correctly. I think they were at IBS in Orlando. So 2 years ago, and I don't remember the name of the product.
That was when you went to IBS for 14 hours.
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah. You're gonna cover 1 million square feet in a day.
Yeah, sweet trip, Wade. Thanks.
But happened to fall upon this, whatever it's called, magnet deck.
Magna? I don't know.
If you weren't super creative, it was probably just called magnet deck. But what it was is oh boy, I feel like we're giving this too much airtime. But what it was is that it was a I think there was a steel plate that you would slide into the back of a deck board in a channel. You'd have to route out this deck board, slide a steel plate into it, and then on the deck you'd put these little like camo edge clips. They have a little horseshoe that grabs a joist. These things had a little joist grabber thing and it had a magnet on it.
Okay.
So then you apply these steel plates to the deck board and then it just magnetizes to the framing.
So you installed 2 fasteners per 3 fasteners. You routed a piece into the board, then you put 2 magnets per deck board on the joist. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think you probably had to put a little steel plate every 16 inches or whatever.
So Hidfast is 1 connector per board, and these guys went with 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
So I think their intent was that they were eventually going to come out with their own profile, or they were going to get manufacturers of deck boards to make a profile that worked with because sure as hell nobody on site is going to be routing in these huge channels at the bottom of the board. And then what does that do to the warranty? Like they're removing quite a bit of material out of there too. Yeah. So anyway,
working for free.
So, but where that idea came from is they had a product for baseboards that did the same thing. And so
that works.
Yeah, exactly. The premise of that made a little bit more sense. And the baseboards would they would magnetically attach to your spikes, like at your screws or at your nails, and the framing that was already there.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a little bit
corner
neat.
bead has metal in it.
Yeah.
The outside corner beads.
Corner beads. So there was enough metal that existed that the baseboard thing, I don't know if it's around anymore either, but it certainly made more sense than the deck board did. Yeah. But there's an example of somebody who had an idea and
went for it.
Went for it. Yeah. And you know what? They had a booth at IBS.
What's the worst that happens?
So
you lose your house. That's fine.
I think that's
you live with your parents, right?
That's
so I'm pumped up for a few reasons. One is always the new products. 2 is for sure just the buddies, like getting down there, seeing all the guys, going for some drinks, going for dinner, just walking the floor with guys. Also finding out what they're doing, what they like. Blair's got some stuff going on at Dex Direct. I always like chatting with him. Like we walk the floor with him for an hour, usually at some point. And it's just like, they expanded. It's like, man, you expanded your company. How's that going? It's like, I like to visit with the guys.
Like to talk shop, see these guys. You only see them once a year, maybe twice if you're at IBS or something, right? There's some of these guys go to some of the other JLC shows in like Rhode Island and Portland or wherever they are. We've never made it to those, but so you're only seeing these guys like 1, 2, maybe 3 times a year.
Yep.
And it's just good to kind of, other than your kind of constant, communication through Instagram or something.
Yeah.
That's definitely part of it.
Excited to take Jubs down there. I'm pretty pumped to I think it'll be good. Kind of grow into the company with us, right? Like he's always been here. He's a big part of the everyday for us locally. Not big enough that we're going to give him like a appreciation day or anything like that.
But we always go to these shows, whatever, and come back and we're like, it was so great. We did this, that. And he's always kind of like, yeah, it sounds great. And it's like, that's the end of it. It's
so
like,
we hung out with this guy and then and then Stan and I drank bourbon and he's like, yeah, I like bourbon. Yeah, well, we can't now because that only happens down there.
It'll also be good for him to to maybe start to get into our heads a little bit on the macro level. Cause he just runs this store, right? Like he's just here on the ground. He's not doing, we've never asked him to be like the big thinker about where this business is going, but he'll get a taste of that maybe down there. Like, here's why we come to these things. Sure. It's a lot of like shits and giggles and hanging out with the guys and, drinks and networking and all that stuff. But there's also like, where's the business going in 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. And I think it'll be, when you have an old dog who's like wore out.
I got one of those.
And then you get a puppy and then all of a sudden the old dog's got like 2 more years of great life ahead of it. Cause it's like, cause it gets all this energy from it. So we've walked the floor enough, IBS, Deck Expo. None of this stuff is not none of it, but not all of it is new to us. And just like, this is all going to be brand new to Justin and 100%. He's going to be excited about it. And I hope he's like authentic about it. I hope he's like, dude, look at this railing. And it's like, yeah. And then I hope I'm not an ass about it and be like, I already saw that.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to try as hard as I can to like draw that energy. Cause it's, you can't buy that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of like the first time you haven't been, but first time going anywhere for a trip or something like that. But like the first time going to Disney World is way better than the second and third and fourth times because everything's new.
Yeah.
Same idea, right? You can show up to something and everything's new and shiny.
Yeah.
But once you've been there a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do some work for free, man.
Yeah.
Find your passion.
Just find your passion is the main point. We were talking before we fired this up about, like I enjoy coming to work every day because we're building something here. Not because I can't wait to get in there and do the next estimate. Like, that's not, that doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
But I get excited every day to pull the ideas out of my head and do something with them and like grow the business.
Grind it out on software evaluations.
Yeah, whatever.
What are we
just
doing?
know that
this
we're
is just
taking
like
steps in the right direction.
But you know that when you come out of that, you're going to review 5 or 6 different types of POS systems. And when you come out of that, you're going to be like, this is it. This is the one.
I don't like,
and away we go.
I don't ever want this to be a job. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to ever show up here and be like, stop trying to grow. I don't want to stop growing and building the business. I don't want to be like, okay, well, I feel like we've achieved, like, this is a good revenue and a good number of employees and a good, like, this is just good now. No, we'll just just go status quo.
Yeah.
Cause then why did we ever leave jobs doing that before? Like, the exciting part of this is building things.
Yep.
Used to be building decks. Now it's building business. So, Deck Expo. So we're going to have a chance to walk that floor a little bit, but we're also tied up at the Decorators booth doing some podcasts live from there. We've mentioned this a few times. We've mentioned the meetup for sure, but we're also going to be at the Decorators booth, which is booth, I want to say it's 1019, but maybe double check that. But we're going to be at the Decorators booth on Thursday of the show from 1 until 4. We will be there. And the meetup is from 2 until 4. But you're certainly welcome to come by at any point because we're going to be shooting some podcasts live from there. So if you want to just come hang out and see how that's going and whatever, see what we're talking about, because I know we've got a bit of an itinerary laid out now.
Oh, yeah. Thursday
at 1:15ish or 1:30, we're recording a podcast with some of the Decorators folks about some of the new stuff that they're bringing to the show there. So, and then at 2:00, you'd be crazy not to be there. There's going to be like free swag from the Ultimate Deck Shop, free swag from Decorators, free beer from Decorators. Like, we'll be there again,
inspired by the Ultimate Deck
podcast
Shop
stuff. Yeah. Everybody from Instagram will be there. So like, especially if this is your first time to the show and you're like, oh boy, I hope I run into some people. Well, 2:00 at the Decorators booth on Thursday is a guarantee you're going to run into some people.
Yeah. You got,
and then we're going to do an open mic podcast at about like 2:30, 3:00, like in the middle of that little free beer get together, Instagram, what do we call it? Insta meetup. In the middle of that, we're going to fire up the podcast and give people a chance, like, hey, you have questions or you ever wanted to like be on the podcast, you want to be part of it, just sit down at a mic and let's chat just like we're doing now. Let's just waste some time.
Yep. Little chin wag. Maybe we could play a Bean Boozle. Maybe we could do a backwards.
So I was thinking that. I was like, what's our thing going to be this year? I don't know if we even have time to do it this year, but I was like, we could take some Mad Libs or we could do something this year and like
high fives.
Just high fives all around. Yeah.
Somehow I've become known as a high five guy.
And then we'll be back at the Decorators booth again on Friday morning from 9 till 12 to do some more podcasts and YouTube shows and whatnot. And we're going to have some special guests stopping by as well for sure on Friday morning. And so, yeah, if you want to swing by the Deckers booth and check out their products and their new stuff for this year, and come up and say hi to us and like see the podcast in action and whatnot. Yeah, Thursday 1 to 4, Friday 9 to 12, Instagram meetup Thursday at 2 o'clock. It's going to be a great time.
I don't know that I was just searching my phone for the booth number, but we'll have to post
I'm pretty sure it's 1019, but yeah, look into it. I mean, it's not a huge show. You're going to be able to find the Deckers booth. They got a good sized booth down there.
Yeah.
So anyways, I don't know that there's much more to waste people's time with this morning.
Might have been enough.
Yeah.
That might have been enough for them.
As always, thanks for tuning in. We are still putting out the Ultimate Deck Show on YouTube, which is a kind of long format talk show / educational style show. So to go check that out as well, subscribe, because we may not be getting paid, but like the followers mean something. Take it easy, everybody. See you next week.
Happy weekend.